has a particular shape, whereas for men, it signals more power and is larger and takes up more space, and women's bodies are encouraged to take up less space. So, you have those kind of dynamics factoring in. But it's really interesting to see how women these past, maybe 10 years have taken to more bodybuilding types of exercise, such as CrossFit, that do in some ways, encourage certain parts of their body to take up more space. And it seems that they're more kind of embracing that, embracing their body's shape and size.
And you're right. I was just going to say you're right. Just to bring up some of the sort of news of the last year, we've seen so many headlines like this: "Is strong the new skinny? More gyms promote building muscles over losing weight." And Nikki, I know that you're a fitness instructor. How have you seen that phenomenon play out? And do you feel like you get as much exercise as you should, even though you are a fitness instructor?
It's funny because as soon as you started talking about strong is the new skinny, that was the first mantra that came up in my mind when she mentioned between the typical female body and CrossFit becoming more popular. So I find the same thing. I really, really work out during my classes as well as instruct and create safety cues for the students. So I do get a workout during my day. And you'll find many fitness instructors who teach, like I do, plyometrics, yoga, hardcore workouts, more like boot camps. We'll have to take, 3 showers a day, and it's definitely life-changing because you are getting a hard workout. However, we have things like, herniated discs, other like knee issues. You get flat feet sometimes, and you have to protect your arches. So we have more overuse injuries that can cause some problems. So for me and for other instructors like me, we usually pick 1 or 2 genres that we don't teach. So I don't teach spinning, so that on my days off, it can be a total vacation yet workout for me to do something that's out of my normal realm of what I teach. Also, my fitness DVDs, when you're on a shoot, sometimes you're shooting under the sun for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a day. I shoot all of my videos in Mexico. So it's a gorgeous background. People who watch the videos get a mini vacation for their mind while they get a workout. But for me, I'm getting sunburned and I'm sweating. So you're definitely dehydrated. And so you have other health issues you have to look out for. But generally, yoga to keep you centered, as the gentleman was mentioning, and just finding other, different avenues. For example, tonight I'm taking a pole dancing class. I don't teach that. It's the first time I'm taking it, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'm always trying to create fitness dates with friends so that I can get an experience of a different sort of workout than what I generally do.
Right, and that's interesting because it kind of touches a little bit on what Bradley was talking about community, although Bradley not suggesting that you're pole dancing this evening. Unless maybe you are, I don't know.
Maybe one day. I haven't tried it yet. But, yeah, definitely back to the community thing. Yeah, if you want to take it out into the broader context of just health and not only fitness, I also like, making dates with friends to cook, the good food that we're growing at the Grange, freshly harvested from the ground, and then we just cook it that night. It's a lot easier to get motivated. Same thing after a long day, just as much motivation as you need to go exercise. It also takes motivation to come home and cook a home cooked meal. So it definitely helps to do that with friends, and it's just a good thing all around to do.
And Bradley, I was going to say, you mentioned motivation there, which I think is very important. It's sort of one of the things that we've kind of been dancing around in this conversation as well, is just how to be motivated. And Jeff Stevens is our social media manager here, and he writes, "I'm a big fan of my fitness tracker, aka my wearable. It really motivates me to see how many steps I take throughout the day and hours of exercise it tracks for me." Amanda, when it comes to motivation, how do you suggest people become motivated, stay motivated through the day?
That's a stumper. I have to be honest with you. I spent so many years hating my body with eating disorders because of being in show business that I don't know that I have advice on motivation because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. It's interesting because coming from the body love perspective where I'm working from, fitness dates are a different idea. It's not about staying in shape. It's not about losing weight. It's not about looking a certain way. It's not about battling a new class. It's more just learning how to do it for the sole purpose of joy and pleasure in your body. And I have a lot of women that follow my blog that are kind of going through that right now, is learning how to go take a class, not be embarrassed because of their, to ask questions, and the only motivation they have is trying to go and find joy in the movement, because for so many years they were body shamed. So I think motivation is a tricky thing, because if you read a fitness magazine, it means one thing, motivation to do, you know, this new workout, or you know, lose 6 pounds or lose your belly fat. But motivation for the rest of us who are kind of, you know, trying to love our bodies for the way they are, imperfections and all, is just being able to get out of the house and go and not feel completely shamed to be at the gym no matter how much you weigh.
And I think, Amanda, you know, you're making an excellent point. There's a lot of issues that you're raising there that so many people deal with. We had so many conversations about this on HuffPost Live, and I envisage we will continue to do so because just so many people are affected by some of the things that you've been talking about. And I'm wondering, you know, whether or not community is the way to help with that, to help reinforce a positive body image and also to promote good fitness. You know, I've got a comment here from V. Murphy who says, our office sets up a specific time twice a day to do squats wherever you are. It makes working out fun and adds steps to our Fitbits. We also walk to lunch often. Larissa, what do you think about that? You know, is there a sort of research out there or just even anecdotally about how community and sort of, you know, doing squats together, for example, can really help to, you know, promote fitness wherever you are?
Yeah, definitely, and especially for women, it's important to be able to do things collectively, and I study mostly women of color, and that's been really key in improving their health, you know, forming a community around activities. One thing that I started in San Antonio was an exercise group called Fulanas con Ganas, and Fulanas just means kind of like an anybody, like a Jane Doe, and so the point of it was to, you know, come up with an exercise group that anybody can join in and do, and we did it in a park that was in kind of a historically underserved part of town, and one of the motivations behind it was women talking about how embarrassed they felt to be exercising in public because it's kind of like a performance, like a spectacle, and so we formed this group, and you know, it was a group of, you know, 8 to 12 of us depending on the day, and it really kept us motivated, and we came out, you know, every Sunday to do it, and since I've moved, you know, they've continued to work out. So.
Absolutely. You know, and Nikki, what do you think about the idea of sort of community? I mean, obviously you mentioned the pole dancing date you have with a friend, but for anybody watching that really wants to keep motivated, get motivated, what advice would you give them?
I heard a quote one time that said, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So that can mean that if you're around people who are embarrassed to go out because of their weight, they like to overeat, or they're just stuck in sort of a bad pattern, it'll rub off on you. So if you can surround yourself with people who help your emotional, your physical, your mental well-being, that is a good way to sort of motivate. And it's so much fun. I teach fitness classes. That was the first certification I got because I just want to be around a lot of other people. I live in New York City. You think I'm around people all the time, but I work from home, train clients, shoot the DVDs. So for me, classes are the way to get energy from other people, even if you're not feeling it that day. If you show up at the gym, you get everybody else's energy. It really boosts you. And then you mentioned motivation earlier. I think if you think of exercise not what the magazine covers say, you know, lose 6 pounds, get tight abs, but as mental and emotional attitude adjustments. Also, healthcare for life. You know, you'll be around and be healthier and fit for your children. You'll fight diseases. If you use that as your motivation, it becomes much more important. You know, if you don't have an hour today to exercise, do you have 24 hours a day to be in a hospital bed? Probably not. No one wants that. So if you spend some time thinking about it as, you know, a fun time with friends and really critical to your life, I think that's the motivation that you need.
Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Some great advice. And for more information, check out the resource well below. All the links to things we've been referencing below this player. And this conversation has been presented by Fitbit. Stick around. There's more HuffPost Live coming up next.
This is HuffPost Live. I'm Josh Szeps. 2 years ago, Sean Kim dropped out of one of Canada's most prestigious universities, and it was one of the hardest decisions, but best decisions that he's ever made. His blog for the Huffington Post is entitled "How I Went from Dropping Out of College to Freedom in 2 years." He joins us to discuss it. Thanks for being here, Sean. Why'd you do it? Why'd you drop out of college?
Hey, Josh. Thanks for getting me on here. There's a lot of reasons why I did what I did. For one, this year, the year that I dropped out wasn't actually the first year that I decided to drop out. It was actually a year before that. So it was something that I've been thinking about for a while. And a lot of it is that, I didn't really enjoy the topic I was studying in college, which is economics and finance. And, much like other entrepreneurs that have taken some actions, I had an opportunity of starting a business and growing a business that I was truly, truly passionate about. And that's why I took the action of dropping out of university.
Your mum comes from a conservative Korean family. Did she cry?
She didn't exactly cry, but coming from an Asian family where you're expected to be a doctor or a lawyer, and that's kind of the top of the food chain. Being an entrepreneur and then dropping out of university isn't exactly the sentence you want to hear from your son.
So what are you doing now?
It's been 2 years. I've gone through a whole of a lot in these last 2 years, and maybe we can have some chance to talk about it. But currently, right now, I am I'm actually traveling around the world. So this is my first base. I'm here in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I run a marketing consulting company, and I do this all remotely. So I'm able to travel, meet different people, while being able to build a business around a lifestyle that I love. So it's been a real roller coaster, but I'm really glad to be where I am today. So I'm in a good place.
Tough life. There are worse places to be than Buenos Aires. But tell us about those intervening 2 years that you mentioned. What did you go through? What happened?
Yeah. The moment that I dropped out, to be honest, it was a pretty naive move for me to just pack up my bags and decide. I actually moved to Toronto. Left all my friends in Montreal at McGill, who I still keep in touch with dearly, and I took a risk. And just like any other business does, or any first-time entrepreneur does, my business actually it failed, and my partners went our different ways in about 4 months or so. And to keep it short, I actually ended up getting recruited for this company in New York, and spent about $2,000 on a visa and packed up all my bags from Toronto and decided to go to New York, where I had a house, I had a job. That was like going to be my next chapter in my life. A little before I know it, I actually ended up getting rejected for my visa, and I had to get kicked out of the country to head back to Toronto, where I didn't have a home at that point because I closed in all my lease. So for a period of time, it was really a rough time. I was homeless for 2 weeks. Lived on my friend's couch to figure out my next steps. And long story short, I'm at a good place now. So it's funny looking back now, but it was a hell of a ride when I first landed there.
One of the ironies, I guess, of what's happened to the economy over the past generation is that, what we used to take for granted, that you would be able to get a job and there would be stability and security and you'd be able to maintain that job over the course of a lifetime. That's just no longer true anymore, no matter how secure the industry that you go into. So I always think it's a little bit odd when people try to get get a degree that's going to lead them into a career that's going to be stable for the rest of their lives, because people are getting retrenched when they're in their 40s or 50s. There is the illusion of stability and security is just that. And in many cases, a lot of my friends who've gone into riskier professions, like this one, it's not like television, entertainment, and journalism is a particularly stable career either. We end up doing better because we've kind of accepted our fate as having the ups and downs and swings and roundabouts. Is that part of sort of your purpose in dropping out?
Yeah, I've realized I had a mentor that told me that the economy that we're in right now and the ones that we're entering, it's not much safer than going out on your own, getting real life experience, and building assets for yourself at the end of the day. I invested heavily in my personal brand ever since I dropped out, because I realized that having a resume where I have these work experiences, it's not enough. And I think the best thing to really de-risk yourself from any insecurities or any recession or anything like that is to be able to build these assets for yourself, whether that is building up your personal brand and sharing your expertise out in the world. And it's so easy to do